Hi everyone, it's Kathy. Thank you so much for joining me. Today I'll be sharing how to create a stained glass look using the new Magnolia A2 die. I'll also be using the Celebrate Word and Shadow dies, as well as the Your Day stamp set. I started out with a piece of cardstock that measures 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And then I cut down a piece of double-sided adhesive, and this is a very strong adhesive, and I cut it down to the same size at 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. I placed my cardstock on top of the double-sided adhesive and pressed really well to make sure that I had good adhesion. And the first piece of release paper that I removed, I did set that off to the side because I am going to use it in just a moment. After I had the double-sided adhesive stuck down to my cardstock really well, I removed the other piece of release paper, and that piece I just threw away in the trash. I used the Magnolia A2 die and ran it through my die cutting machine with a piece of black cardstock, and then I placed it on top of the piece of cardstock with the adhesive. The release paper that I kept is how I'm going to make sure that my die cut is stuck really well to my cardstock. When you're using the release paper, you want to make sure that you put the shiny side down so that it doesn't stick to the adhesive. The other side is not coated, so it will just stick to it and make a mess. So first tip is make sure that the shiny side of the release paper is down when you're burnishing the die cut frame onto the adhesive. The next step is to make a big mess with a whole bunch of ultrafine glitter. I do recommend an ultrafine glitter for this technique. It tends to work better, and the more fine of a glitter you use, the better it'll stick, and then it won't move around and it won't shed very much once you're done with the project. You do want to make sure that you burnish the glitter into the adhesive after you put that first coat of glitter down. You'll see how I spread the glitter around with my finger, and then I go in little circles over the open areas, and that's burnishing the glitter into the adhesive to make sure that it sticks really very well. After you burnish the glitter over the entire front panel, you shouldn't be able to feel anything sticky. If you still feel a little bit of a stick, you want to add more glitter and burnish in some more. Once the glitter is burnished in really well and there's no sticky left, you can use a soft brush over a trash can just to get rid of any loose bits of glitter if any are still hanging around. To add the color to this panel, I used my Copic markers. I started out with R17 and added that closest to the center of the flower, or if a flower petal was cupped up, I would color in the bottom of that petal. Once I was done with the RV17, I came in with RV55 and added a little bit more of the pink to it, and then I came in with my colorless blender and just dabbed over it. The colorless blender helps spread the ink out a little bit more within the glitter pieces, and it gives it a more watercolor look. Now there's a couple of things to go over when using your Copic markers this way. The first, and I think the most important, is you want to make sure that your markers are really very juicy. So if they need to be refilled, I would definitely recommend that you refill them before you do this technique. The second really important note is that I'm not coloring with my markers. I am literally just dabbing the tip of the marker on top of the glitter. If you go in a back and forth motion with the marker, the glitter is going to get too wet from the ink, and the glitter will actually start to move around, and that is one thing that you don't want to do. Just by dabbing the tip of the marker on the glitter, you will get enough color. You just really want to make sure that you don't go in a back and forth motion. After I was done coloring in the flowers, I colored in the background with B04. And I did the same thing. I just kind of dabbed a little bit of the color around the edges, and then I used my colorless blender just to make that ink run a little bit more, and it gave it that more watercolor look. Once I was done with adding all of the color, I set that panel off to the side, and I die cut the word Celebrate from the Celebrate Word and Shadow die set. I cut it once from white cardstock, and I cut it once from vellum cardstock. I adhered the white die cut word to the vellum die cut shadow, and I added a little bit of liquid glue to the back side of that. and when I was adding the liquid glue to the back, I was making sure to only have the adhesive be on the actual white die cut word. That way the adhesive won't show through when I adhere it down to the front of my panel. And the lighting was a little bit off earlier, but here you can see how vibrant the color really is on the card. After I had the Celebrate word die cut adhered to the front of my card panel, I adhered that to the front of a top folding A2 size note card. And I also made a second card using different markers just so you could see how different each card can look. And that's it. That finishes up my card for today. Thank you so much for joining me. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you've not yet subscribed, we'd love it if you would. And don't forget to ring the bell so you're notified every time a new video is posted. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.